Good morning. Thank you so much for your time this morning. My name is Lillian Muli, and it's World Breastfeeding Week. It's celebrated every year on the first week of August, and we continue to spread the message of exclusive breastfeeding, at least for the first 6 months. That is extremely important according to medics. And in studio this morning, I'm joined by Josephine Munene. She's a certified lactation support professional, and Claire Munde, who's a journalist and maternal wellness champion. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
And thanks for being with us. I'll start with you, Josephine. Breastfeeding, of course, known to be one of the most effective ways to ensure a baby's health. So take us through, number one, I see you have a little baby with you there.
Yes.
So a baby has been born. And this is a new mother, perhaps new child. What are some of the breastfeeding tips that perhaps mothers should observe in the first early days of a baby's life?
Okay. And ideally, hopefully, she's already been taken through some of the breastfeeding basics when in her antenatal classes. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. So the first thing I tell a mom is don't panic if you don't see white milk flowing, because that's what we expect. So I'd like to remind her that this first green bubble is the size of the baby's tummy in the first few days. So she shouldn't panic if all she's seeing are watery drops and I don't seem to have milk even when she presses her breast, because she does. By 20 weeks of pregnancy, our body has already made that milk. It's only that the pregnancy hormones are suppressing it from flowing. So once that baby is born, once the placenta has been dispelled, now that system wakes up. So as soon as she puts the baby to the breast, that now kickstarts that production. And that's why we say there's a golden hour where the rule is as soon as a baby is born, they should be placed on the mother's chest, because that starts to send signals. So that's skin to skin. And then at the earliest possible moment, then breastfeeding begins. But that first contact of skin to skin already kickstarts that system. Then, by putting the baby on the breast, now you really open it up, because that is when now the signals, that suckling at the breast now sends a signal to the brain to say, start producing milk. And so I would say within that first few hours, mom, don't panic. Just put the baby on the breast. We just need to start that system going. And after that, put the baby on the breast as often as possible. Hopefully by then you've been shown the different positions, but don't panic. Show yourself grace and take it one step at a time.
Right, but there's also the concern around mothers who've gone through the CS, who a lot of times find their babies taken to the nursery, and then that skin-to-skin contact, placing the baby on the mother's chest, happens only perhaps if the mother was in theatre, was under anesthetic, the mother has been out. And so by the time they come into consciousness, it's been hours. And so that has also been known to be a concern in terms of what the nurses, the pediatricians in the hospital advise in terms of, so the mother is asleep, so what is the baby getting? Are they getting formula? By the time the mother comes into consciousness, will that affect the milk supply?
Yeah, CSs can be very difficult, especially if you're saying you go under general anesthetic. That is now rare because they try to do a spinal block where the mother is still conscious, which means after the procedure has been done, it's usually about a 45-minute, 1-hour recovery time, and then you're taken back to your area, and then you're given your baby. Now, in many of the more developed countries, the baby is actually put on the chest as the mother is being closed up. So again, that begins then. So a lot of this is hospital protocols, because there's no way it is written that that mother has to wait or that baby needs to wait 6 hours. But in case that does happen, there should be at least another partner, whoever it is, whether it's the grandmother, whether it's the father, but somebody there should be able to do skin to skin. So skin to skin is not just for the mother, it's also for the baby. And also by the time a baby is being given formula or glucose, water, it is because it has been medically indicated, meaning sugars have been taken from the baby, not because somebody is guessing about the length of time that baby has not fed. It's because they've measured the sugars, they have reached a certain level that is now a danger sign, and then now they can give something. But ideally, even that first we call them prelactal feeds. The feed before breast milk should still not be formula.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Josephine. To you, Claire, you're a maternal wellness advocate. And, you know, we'll be sharing more about your journey, your personal journey, as well as your book. But in terms of you interacting also as a journalist with mothers, what are some of the biggest emotional and physical struggles mothers face while breastfeeding? Josephine has already told us about that panic a new mother faces when the milk is not flowing as it should. But looking at other more intense emotional struggles that mothers face while breastfeeding?
Yes, that's a very good question. And some of the things that I found mothers face is that, you know, they have it in their mind, we have to reach the 6-month mark of exclusive breastfeeding. And, you know, they get stressed. And by that time, it also affects milk production. So social media has played a role. It's a good place, but it also has its disadvantages, because sometimes people, moms, go to TikTok, go to Instagram, start seeing, oh, people have stashes of milk. And so instead of focusing on getting that milk out right then and there, they're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm on maternity leave, but I need to start building my stash of milk. People are saying that I have how many liters of milk? And you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm barely feeding my mom. And you know the way Josephine said, that baby's tummy is so tiny, but then when you're getting that milk out, you're like, is my baby even getting full? So that stress really impacts their mental wellness. So I find that sometimes that is a very big struggle, that some people are so focused on reaching that 6-month mark that they don't get present in the whole breastfeeding journey. So that's one of the biggest problems. And then that can spiral out. We've heard of postpartum depression. We've heard of psychosis in the really, really bad instances. So that is a whole round thing, and it's one of the things that really motivated me to write my book, because sometimes you feel alone. There's so many moms around you, but everybody's journey is very different. So you feel like, oh, some people are saying, I have so much milk, I even start donating it. Then you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm trying to express and it's not as much as I would like. So people get obsessed with numbers. Oh, 30 ml, 60 ml, 90 ml, and you're not even present. And that stress just spirals out of control. Yeah. Josephine,
back to you. So we're talking about some of the misconceptions women have around breastfeeding, and Claire has touched on that. And you know, with new mothers just going back to the internet, social media, and getting a lot of tips from there, from whoever it is that really has something to say about this topic. In terms of, number one, for instance, the milk flow. We know that the mother-in-law, the auntie, the mum, traditionally will bring you the porridge, the jahiz, you know, the lentils here in our Kenyan culture. But some of the common misconceptions that really you'd like to debunk this morning around milk flow.
Yes, and let me start actually with that, with the foods that I should eat, either to make my milk flow or to make my milk heavier. Because I hear moms coming to say, the doctor said, my baby is not gaining weight because my milk doesn't have enough fat. Your milk has enough fat. The body prioritizes the baby. So that's why you hear that even if a mother is in a food insecure area, they will still be able to breastfeed their baby. But as they're doing it, they themselves will now start becoming malnourished. So if it's the protein in the milk, that has to come from somewhere. So it has to come from the mother. So the protein levels in the milk will rarely drop until the mother now becomes malnourished enough where they cannot get any more. The body can't get any more. So I tell mothers, eat a very balanced diet, very protein-rich diet. Carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, not like you're saying our porridges, our beans, which are mainly starch. So complex that also give you energy, but again, they're building your body. You can imagine how much has also been leached from you as you are growing that baby in your body. So you need to make sure that you're building back your resources as you're breastfeeding. So the diet should be very rich in nutrient-dense diet for the mother as well. And then I always remind moms that you have to remove milk to make milk. Milk is made in the brain. It's about hormones. It's about the hormonal system. So even if you're taking things like, we call them the galactagogues. I hear about fenugreek. I know moringa has been studied as well. I know there's the cookies, these famous cookies that are mainly brewer's yeast. So again, it's the science behind it, because these things, what they do is that they support the hormonal system. They are not responsible for the release of those hormones. They support that system. So just eat well. And yes, you can exercise as well. It doesn't have to be heavy exercising, but you can do simple exercises. They will not affect your supply as long as your diet is good and you're getting enough rest. So that's the biggest one of what can I eat to increase my milk supply. You need to remove milk to make milk, but you need to eat well to also protect your own health. And
we'll be getting back on the practical way of doing it. We know a lot of mothers struggle with latching. And, but Claire, in terms of re-entering the workforce, so here's a new mum and you've done your 3 months, ideally, leave. You've worked closely with women re-entering the workforce. So what are some of the real stories you've had of women trying to balance re-entering work and breastfeeding exclusively?
Yeah, that's usually a very big question moms face. And they think like, oh my goodness, I want to continue with my career. I need to provide for my family, but is my child safe? How is it going to all balance out? So one thing I always tell moms is try and prepare beforehand so you know you're going to be going on leave. So if you have your line manager, speak to them and tell them, you know what, ideally when I come back, I would like flexi time. I know it's not always an ideal situation for everyone. Not everybody has a very good working relationship with their bosses and all that, but try and tell them what your expectations are, because for the first 3 months when you're coming back, that 4th trimester, you may not be able to give in as much as you would like because you need to think of expressing, you need to go and check on your child and whatnot, but also get a very good support system because that will help your mental health. So this is your nanny. So if you're getting a nanny, if you have a referral, better. If you can get somebody to understand what you expect of them when you're away, it's really good. That's why we have people who have like nanny cams. You don't want to be all the time you're at work, you're checking your nanny cam. You want to have somebody dependable so that when I leave my child, I know that they're going to be fed well. They're not going to be given anything other than the breast milk that I've expressed. They're going to take care of my child. They're not going to do things that make me think of quitting the workspace. So your support system is very important. So also tell people, what would you like me to do for you? So sometimes people assume that, you know, I'm a new mom. Why don't you come and help me with my child? I am sleep deprived. But I always say, don't expect people to know what you want. You need to tell them. So even if it's your partner, tell them, you know what, these number of hours, I need to get my sleep. So I've expressed milk, give this to the child. Or I need you to cook, I need you to do this and that. Don't assume. So always ask for the support. Don't feel ashamed. And if you feel like you're not really yourself, always seek medical attention. And sometimes people think that, you know, going to a therapist is very expensive, but it's not always the case. There are county hospitals and so on and so forth where you can get these services at a very cost-effective rate. So don't ignore warning signs. If you feel off, make sure you seek that help because you want to nip it in the bud before things get out of hand. So I always say, talk to your boss beforehand, and then when you come back, say, these are the hours that I would like to work, and be productive when you're there so that people don't start saying, this is an excuse, you know. Yeah. And then when you're away, be away. Don't start thinking, oh, work and so on and so forth. And also, kind of resign yourself to the fact that the first year, you may not be as active as you would want to be. So you want to grow your career, but you have this new baby. So give the best you can for that 1 year, and you will be back in the workforce. Sometimes we feel like, oh my goodness, everything is going to end. No, it's just for a short time. Give your attention, and then you will be back in the workforce. And then always talk to your nanny and give them the expectations. And don't ignore warning signs when you see something is off with your nanny, because if you have a bad nanny, it will mess your mental health. Yeah.
Talking about nannies, Josephine, so we're talking about expressing, and I want to look into issues around the storage of the milk, appropriate storage, and if it's thawing, if it was refrigerated, you know, how that should be done, and hygiene as well, very critical. Claire is talking about nannies here, so that nanny training as well, and that consciousness of the fact that mommy has stepped out, is back at work, and you're now handling expressed milk. So let's look into the storage of the milk, as well as how many feeds this baby should be given while mommy is away at work.
Okay, so when mommy expresses the milk, let's say it's in the workplace, she should put it in the fridge. If she has a fridge, that's fine. Or she can use an insulated bag with cooler packs. So then she gets home and then she puts what she expressed now today in the fridge for use tomorrow. And by this time, by the time she's going back to work, she has already started training the nanny. So her first day or week back at work cannot be the first time that she has watched the nanny give the baby expressed breast milk. It should not be the first time that she has explained to the nanny, this is how you either thaw the milk or this is how you warm the milk. So After she has expressed her milk, so room temperature milk is okay for about 4 to 6 hours. When it's in the fridge, it's about 3 days. When it's in the freezer, it's about 3 months. But we don't need such a big stash that you have 3 months worth of milk. You have about a week or so. So ideally, the nanny should not be defrosting any milk unless now all the milk in the fridge is finished and now she's trying to defrost it. So once, if it is, let's say in the fridge, she'll warm it in a warm bowl of water. So if it is in a bag, because these days we prefer to use storage bags because they're easier to stack. If it is in a bag, she can then put it in the cup. So the cup that she's going to use for feeding, because we're discouraging bottles. Okay. So she'll put it in the cup, or she can warm it. If it's a very well-sealed bag, because there are different brands out there, she can actually warm it. Sit the bag in a bath of water, warm water. Once the milk is warm, then she puts it in the cup. So we are using a cup to feed. Yeah, we don't want that confusion with bottles and hygiene issues that also come with that. So this is something that you've already trained your nanny. If she's defrosting from the freezer, same thing. She's not microwaving it. She's not putting it in the sufuria to warm it. She's taking it in that frozen pack, putting it again in warm water. And it can be slightly hot, but hot in the sense that you can comfortably put your hand inside and not feel like you're burning. So once it defrosts, then she has to give the baby, or she can defrost overnight in the fridge, which means it can be used in 24 hours. Once that baby drinks that milk, as long as there's saliva that has come into contact with that milk, it needs to be drunk within 2 hours. Same with any other milk, because of the fact that bacteria means that it's now going to spoil faster, because human breast milk does spoil. But I always say that it is very important before you start going to work, about a month even before, or yeah, I'd say a month, start learning, practicing how to express, whether you're using your hands, whether you're using a pump, start practicing then. Because now that expressed milk is the one you're also going to show that nanny, that caregiver, whoever it is, how to hold the baby when they are feeding from the cup, how to feed them with the cup. Yeah. Yes, so you need to do that.
Discouraging the bottles and using cups as an alternative?
So it's twofold. The first one is that bottles create a hygiene concern, because they need to be washed, they need to be sterilized, and then just the way the bottle is shaped, we know the way the bottles are shaped, yeah? You usually need a special brush to wash them properly, because any milk that is left inside that bottle allows for the growth of bacteria. So that's now contamination. Number two, if you have a bottle, you must feed with a teat. A teat is even a greater contamination risk than the bottle itself. And we tend to use teats for, I think you can find moms who use the same teat for 6 months, whereas you should change them every 2 months because of the fact of the friction. So again, that point. But more so because when we feed with a bottle, we tend to hold the baby vertically, like as though we are breastfeeding them, and then pretend this is my teat, and then we again tip over the bottle, so the baby is not working at all. They're just sitting there, they pull once, they get a full mouthful of milk. However, if they were on the breast, it would take 2-3 pulls to be able to do the same thing. And babies are very intelligent. They don't want to do a lot of work, you know? So when I put my baby back on the breast, they're like, hey, dude, where's the milk? You've given me something during the day that I was just sitting here and I pull once and it all comes out. Now you're making me work and pull and suckle. So that is usually the biggest issue with also bottles. So the hygiene aspect, because we do not want diarrhea. Diarrhea is one of the biggest causes of infant mortality and morbidity, but also because now it compromises breastfeeding at the breast. So cups, and you can use, this is a very small cup for a newborn, so even the milliliters are for a newborn, but this is a cup that can also be used, because you see the slanting, and it can be used also from birth, because the drinking at the cup is very easy. It's just practice.
All right, thanks for that. Claire, to you, we talked about, the mental health of the new mom, and we're talking about postpartum depression, baby blues, if you like, and how extreme that can be for specific cases. So in terms of mental wellness resources that are available for new moms who feel overwhelmed, I know you touched on county hospitals, but how big an issue of concern is the mental wellness of particularly new moms, and not even new moms, just mothers in general? They say that every birth is a different experience, emotionally, physically. So how big an issue is this?
Yes, it's quite a big issue. And they say that you can't pour out from an empty cup. A lot of moms feel, you know, the blues are normal, hormone changes and all that, but sometimes moms keep quiet. They feel like, you know, if I start saying that I'm not feeling okay, some people will tell me I'm ungrateful. And I've heard a lot of moms say that, you know, they say, I'm not feeling okay. I feel like I don't want to be with my baby for now. Not that I don't love my baby, but I'm just not feeling okay. And then they're told, like, you should be grateful. Do you know how many people are looking for children? And so people are made to feel that I should just be silent, I should suffer in silence, but then that now perpetuates something different. So it's very important to take care of your mental health. And I know even Josephine says this a lot. If you're feeling not okay, whenever you're going for those checkups, whether it's the 2-week, the 6-week, or tell the gynecologist, refer me to somebody, I need to speak to somebody, I'm not feeling okay. Because sometimes moms just brush through it. Okay, my baby's weight is okay, everything is okay, but are you okay? You're not okay, and you feel embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's a rebirth of you. They say as you're being born, a mother is also being born. So it's a new phase for you, and it's okay to feel not okay, but it's not okay to just sit on it. So I find a lot of moms just suffer in silence. So the thing is, speak to somebody who is trustworthy, because some people also start opening up to the wrong people, and then they feel even worse because these people start judging them and so on and so forth. So within your circle, find those people who you can trust and open up to them, and then get professional help, because sometimes people want to rely on, okay, your mom and all that, but there are different ways in which they handled things. They would say, during my day, we were just getting through and whatnot, but you don't have to get through it. So get that professional help. And then also doing simple things like journaling. Sometimes writing down your thoughts really helps to clarify where you're at. So write down your thoughts and find your own time, because sometimes you're just obsessed with the baby, obsessed with the baby. Get your me time. You're still a person. You're a mom, but you're also a woman first. So get, whether it's the 30 minutes, 45 minutes for yourself. If you want to listen to a podcast, listen. If you want to take a walk, take a walk. Find those me time so that you can get your mind straight. Because if you're not okay mentally, then it really spirals out and it doesn't have a good effect on the way you parent.
Yeah, okay. Very well said. Josephine, we want to now get into the latching, correct, the way to breastfeed. A lot of mothers struggle with just that frustration over the baby not latching properly. So walk us through that.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to make sure that mom is very comfortable, because I need to know that I'm going to be there for about maybe 30 minutes. You shouldn't breastfeed past 40 minutes, ideally, because the milk exchange is quite quick, or should be quite quick. So then I'm comfortable, my back is supported, I am upright. Yeah. Then I'm holding my baby, so hopefully baby is now not crying. So they're the different cues of hunger. Crying is the last one. So the first one is where now they're starting to look for the breast. Then it progresses to them putting the hands in their mouth. So that's when we want to try and get a handle on this situation. Because when they start crying, you need to calm the baby down before you can put them on the breast, especially newborns who are still not used to that. It's not yet a reflex of, I know as soon as I'm brought here, I open my mouth, I hold the breast. Yeah. So as I'm holding the baby, automatically, I've already held them actually. So we need to make sure that the baby's ear, shoulder, and hip are in one line. Why? Even us, when we're drinking something, eating something, we face our food. So if the baby's head is turned, if the baby's body is upright, and then the baby turns their head to reach the breast, their shoulder is in the way. So it creates a distance. So we don't want that. So we want to make sure that the baby is fully facing the mother's body. That's what we call tummy to tummy, but it's not literal. Because I find moms who literally make sure it's, no, it just means body to body and tummy to tummy. Then I have to bring the baby to the breast, as I have done. And as I'm doing that, just for the point of, so this is called the underarm. So it's really good for young babies, yeah? I want to try and make sure that my baby's nose, and this always sounds so technical, but the reason why it's good to have your baby's nose as close to the breast as possible is also the scent, but because they will start looking for it, and the baby will rear up, their head up. So if the nipple is next to the nose, opposite the nose, they'll open their mouth end, because we want the nipple to go up and back. We do not want this nipple to end up just at the front, which is what normally happens. And that's when you get so much pain. So we want to make it in a way that the baby's head, and this is why this is one of the better positions, is that the baby will automatically look upwards, the nipple goes up and back, and that's where the biggest space in the baby's mouth is. So there's an unhindered flow of milk. If the nipple ends up at the front, it's being squeezed, which means the milk also won't come out freely. So we want free flow. When the baby pulls on the breast, the milk flows to the back of the throat and the baby swallows. So that is what we call an interrupted milk exchange. And that's when now that baby can empty. We don't actually, milk doesn't get finished, but they can at least empty the breast within 20 to 30 minutes. So there are many different positions, but the one thing the mom needs to remember is always body facing, body in a straight line. So whether you're doing the underarm one, whether you're doing the cradle, which we know, whether we are doing the cross cradle, which means that you're supporting, this is also a really good one because you're able to support your breast, and we support the breast using a C hold or a U hold, because you're able to, you have more control over the baby and bringing them to the breast. Yeah. And then even for some babies, let's say the ones with a cleft lip, you can do a koala. So it means that your baby sits on you and again, yes, approaches from that side. Even the lying down position, the side lying position, what I tell moms is that remember with side lying, your baby was always horizontal. Whether they were here, your baby was horizontal. When you lie down, you are both now horizontal. So you being horizontal is not going to make the baby choke. You just need to take some precautions so that you don't roll onto the baby.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll be getting your winding remarks as we start to close. Claire, just zeroing in on your book and the key highlights there in terms of the thematic areas that you've addressed in that publication.
Yeah.
And let's just have it face the camera so that we can see. Yeah.
So Bounce Back Babe, thanks for that. Bounce Back Babe is a book that really helps moms, career moms and business women to really focus on their finances, their mental health, as well as their fitness, because those are three of the biggest challenges that moms face. So finances, when you have a new child, that's a whole new feeding pattern that you have. There's the education, so many things that you have to think about. Mental wellness, when you have a new child, there's so many thoughts that come through your mind. So how do you take care of your mental wellness? And your fitness, you know, when you have a new baby, your body changes, you know, so people want to snap back. And I was very deliberate that this is not snap back, it's bounce back. So you will never have the same body as you had before you had a baby, but you can have the best version of yourself. And I usually say that it's not good to encourage moms to just keep on gaining weight, because sometimes it affects your mental wellness. If you're not able to fit into clothes, it affects you. So we're not saying body shame, but we're saying get into the best fitness for you, the best version of you. So for me, Bounce Back Babe is just making sure that moms are at the best level when it comes to their fitness, best level when it comes to their finances, as well as their mental wellness, so that they can be able to pour in to their children and have the best versions of their life.
Thanks for that, Claire. Josephine, I'll get your closing remarks around mixed feeding very quickly. When to introduce feeds. Ideally, you know, we talked about, porridge for the mums, but we also know that sometimes formula is introduced too early, porridge is introduced too early, and even some purees. So as we close, the mixed feeding, why that is not encouraged.
Yes, yes.
And if at all it should actually happen and when.
Yeah. Unless in very dire circumstances the mother has passed or again maybe so much stress that the mother does not have milk. In an ideal society we would have donor's mother's milk and then now formula. But we completely discourage animal milk because it doesn't have the nutrients and it can even cause kidney issues when it comes to digestion. So if it is a situation where truly that mother, the baby's weight gain is in danger, then you can find that that is a medical indication for that mother to be mixed feeding. But there's no other circumstances where, for instance, that mother has not yet sought support. And so we have the support in terms of, let's say, community health promoters. We have support at hospitals. We have the Kenya Association for Breastfeeding. If that mother has already sought that support and has been referred to a specialist, and it is shown that truly she can only produce a certain amount, then in that case, that is okay. But we discourage it because, again, it comes down to the hygiene. If you cannot afford that formula, if it was not feasible in your station of life, if it is not safe or accessible, then we will not, it should not be recommended under any circumstances. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Claire and Josephine, for your insights and passion around breastfeeding. Remember, breastfeeding is not just a personal choice, it's a societal responsibility. And to support it, we will continue amplifying these conversations throughout the week. Thanks for watching. We're back in just a bit.